Go take a look at that. Beautiful. There's something right there. Nice little signal here. Sounds good.
I think we have another steak.
Steak? Oh, look at that.
We're looking for a big flat.
Something has gone terribly wrong on Oak Island. In an unprecedented move, U.S. officials swept in under cover of darkness, closed off the causeway, surrounded the island with federal teams, and quietly issued what can only be described as a quarantine order. No one is allowed on or off the island. Every researcher, contractor, and treasure hunter connected to the Lagina team has been forced into complete silence. And the question echoing across the world is simple. What could possibly justify such a sudden and forceful government response? Witnesses say emergency lights flashed long past midnight, and some claim they saw strange, heavily guarded crates being rushed off the island. Whatever happened, it wasn't a drill and it wasn't a precaution. Something was uncovered deep beneath the money pit. Something so startling, so dangerous, and so historically explosive that authorities acted before the public could even react. Rumors are spreading about a sealed chamber that may have been opened during the latest excavation. Some believe it released something unexpected, something Oak Island was never meant to reveal. And with officials refusing to speak, the silence is making the truth feel even more ominous. Whatever they found has shifted the entire investigation and may have rewritten Oak Island's history as we know it. Tonight, we're breaking down every detail, every witness report, every leaked clue, everything the government hoped to keep hidden. From the abrupt shutdown to the mysterious artifact that was reportedly unearthed, this may be the most shocking chapter in Oak Island's long and cryptic story, one the world deserves to understand. So settle in, stay alert, and get ready, because this story goes far beyond treasure hunting and into something much darker. And before we continue, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because whatever is unfolding on Oak Island is accelerating quickly, and you don't want to miss a single update. It all started when a convoy appeared on the causeway shortly after midnight. No warnings, no statements, no explanations. Locals at first assumed it was a late-night television crew arriving to film, but as more headlights emerged, black SUVs and government trucks in a long, coordinated line, it became clear something far more serious was happening. Witnesses say the vehicles moved with remarkable precision. Each stopped at an assigned point as officers stepped out and immediately began sealing every access route to the island. Within minutes, the quiet Nova Scotia shoreline turned into a controlled zone. Red and blue lights pulsed across the trees, while armed federal officers, some in plain clothes, others in unfamiliar tactical gear, established a tight perimeter. Anyone who approached was turned back without reason. Even longtime residents, people who had lived through storms, evacuations, and countless Oak Island operations, said they'd never seen anything like it. And the biggest shock of all, the US almost never intervenes directly in Oak Island matters, especially without Canadian officials or media being alerted. So why act so fast? Why in total secrecy? That question exploded across social media instantly. What were they trying to contain before sunrise? Some speculated a massive treasure discovery. Others whispered about a dangerous underground find, something unstable, toxic, or historically explosive. But nothing matched the intensity in the air. Then came the detail that sent the internet into chaos. A resident across the bay captured blurry footage of two large containers being moved off the island under extreme guard. Metallic, sealed, escorted by men in unmarked gear, with no agency badges, no identifiers, nothing but silent figures moving with purpose. Whatever was inside those containers was handled as though even a moment of exposure would be dangerous. The second they were secured within the convoy, the atmosphere around the entire operation became even more tense. But what unsettled locals most wasn't what they witnessed. It was what they didn't. There were no official announcements, no emergency alarms, not even the standard warning signs usually posted after environmental incidents. The island went dark. The causeway was closed, and by sunrise, Oak Island was essentially under quarantine. Residents woke up to barricades blocking the roads, and men with earpieces patrolling the shoreline. Anyone who tried to ask questions received the same cold response. Area restricted. Do not approach. To treasure hunters, historians, and Oak Island followers everywhere, the meaning was obvious. Something had been found. Something significant, unsettling, or potentially dangerous enough for the US government to step in before morning. And until answers surfaced, speculation was all anyone had. But the midnight lockdown was only the beginning. Hours before the island was sealed off, the Lagina team had broken into something no one anticipated. A discovery buried deep beneath the surface that set this entire chain of events in motion. Now, let's move into the next phase, the Forbidden Chamber, and what the drilling team uncovered that sparked this unprecedented response. No one on Oak Island expected that day's drill run to alter the island's fate. The Lagina team had hit countless voids, old wooden structures, and seawater pockets over the years. But from the moment the drill bit punched through the limestone, this chamber felt unlike anything they'd encountered. The sensors spiked, pressure levels fluctuated wildly, and a hollow, eerie groan echoed from below, like something ancient had been disturbed after centuries of silence. Rick Lagina watched the monitors, clearly shaken. This chamber wasn't recorded on any map, document, or historical theory. It wasn't natural, and it wasn't built with crude tools from any known era of Oak Island's past. But what truly alarmed the crew was the air that escaped. A strange black particulate drifted through the core barrel, moving like smoke, but behaving almost like a fluid. It stuck to anything it touched. Within minutes, everything began to unravel. The team radioed for assistance, but their transmissions abruptly cut off. Cameras flickered, glitched, then died completely. Seismic instruments registered a burst of unknown energy, lasting less than a second, yet powerful enough to trigger alarms across multiple systems. Marty Lagina yelled for everyone to clear the shaft, but it was already too late. And the question that still haunts officials is this: what exactly was released when that ancient chamber was breached? Was it a toxic gas sealed away by early builders? A deliberate trap engineered centuries ago? Or, as some shaken eyewitnesses insist, was it something far more disturbing? Something that moved within the darkness? What the public doesn't know is that the government's quarantine order came just 9 minutes after the chamber was penetrated. 9 minutes. The fastest response Oak Island has ever seen. That wasn't coincidence, it was reaction. Something inside that chamber triggered a protocol that no one on the island even knew existed. As armored vehicles rolled in and communications were cut, an unsettling rumor began to spread. The chamber hadn't been empty. Something had been waiting inside. But the greatest shock wasn't what escaped the chamber. It was what the government retrieved afterward, hidden deep beneath the island. Something powerful enough to justify a complete and immediate shutdown. In the days following the breach, Oak Island experienced something unlike anything in its long, mysterious history. Something even veteran treasure hunters had never seen before. The core team, the people who had spent years openly sharing every discovery with the public, seemed to disappear overnight. No press interviews, no behind-the-scenes commentary, no casual social media posts. It was as if the island itself had swallowed them. Rick, Marty, Jack, Alex, everyone who had been within 50 feet of the money pit when the chamber was breached, was pulled into what insiders now call the Circle. Phones were confiscated immediately. Any device containing photos, video clips, or audio logs was taken by federal agents. One crew member later whispered that the authorities weren't just trying to control the situation, they wanted absolute silence. Production teams were blocked at the entrance. Scheduled interviews for the History Channel were abruptly cancelled with no explanation. Even close friends of the crew said they received strange formal messages informing them that communication was restricted until further notice. Within a single day, the entire Oak Island operation went completely dark. No live feeds, no recorded transmissions, not even an emergency channel update. Naturally, the biggest question among Oak Island followers became, what did the team see inside the money pit that made officials shut everything down? rumors spread quickly. Some believe the crew discovered an artifact so advanced, so impossibly out of place, that the government enacted national security protocols. Others think the team triggered a hazard sealed centuries ago by whoever engineered the island's complex system of traps. But the most chilling theory came from a single leaked message, allegedly sent by a frightened team member just moments before their phone was seized. It read, "We saw something down there, and I can't sleep. I'm terrified of what they made us uncover." There was no name attached, no timestamp, but the fear in those words felt unmistakably real. It didn't sound like a joke or confusion. It sounded like someone who believed they had awakened something that should have remained buried forever. As more anonymous whispers surface, talk of hazmat teams, classified containers, and fragments of an unidentified object, the team's silence becomes even harder to dismiss. Silence is one thing, fear is another. And while everyone wonders what the crew witnessed, an even more unsettling question has emerged. What did the government remove from Oak Island next? Deep below the roots, collapsed tunnels, and centuries of failed treasure hunts, the team uncovered something no one was prepared for, an object that defied every established timeline of human history. It was found inside a stone-lined chamber, the walls carved so precisely they looked machine-polished. It was buried deeper than any previous dig had reached. The craftsmanship surrounding it was too perfect, too calculated, too engineered to belong to medieval pirates or any secret society commonly linked to Oak Island's mysteries. The object itself was partially lodged in the chamber floor, encased in a strange alloy unlike anything known from the 1600s or even the 1700s. Its edges were razor sharp. Its geometric design was flawless, crafted with precision far beyond the capabilities of tools from that era. Everything about it suggested not just skill, but deliberate intention. At first, the crew assumed it might be a ceremonial artifact, possibly something tied to the Knights Templar, a long-running theory on the island. But as the dust settled and the LED work lights illuminated its surface, that theory immediately fell apart. The metal didn't match Templar craft. The markings weren't medieval, and the construction methods weren't colonial. Whoever built it possessed knowledge far beyond anything expected from its supposed time period. The government's response was swift and forceful. Within hours, agents arrived with lead-lined containment crates. They didn't treat the discovery like treasure at all. They treated it like a threat. They treated the object like a serious threat. The team wasn't allowed to take photos. No samples were permitted. Anyone who tried was escorted off the island and silenced under federal authority. And the question that still haunts researchers and theorists worldwide is this: who created it? And why was it buried in complete secrecy beneath Oak Island? Some believe the structure belonged to a lost civilization whose technological achievements were erased from history. Others whisper about ancient visitors, rival empires, or explorers who possessed knowledge far ahead of their time. But the most unsettling claim came from a confidential source inside the quarantine zone. The artifact didn't match anything from any known culture. Whether that means forgotten humans, undiscovered societies, or something entirely different, no one can say. Or perhaps no one is allowed to say. What is certain is that mainstream history cannot account for what lies beneath Oak Island. And the deeper officials dig, the further the story strays from archaeology into a realm far stranger. But even the artifact itself wasn't the most disturbing part. What happened the moment it was removed from its stone cradle unleashed the most alarming event of the entire investigation. The instant the object was lifted, the air seemed to shift. Crew members later described it as a vibration, not a sound, but a pressure inside their bones, as if the island itself exhaled after centuries of holding something back. Instruments on the surface immediately malfunctioned. GPS units went dead. Magnetometers spun uncontrollably. Even simple handheld radios began to emit a low, pulsing hum no one had ever heard before. At first, the team assumed this interference was caused by moving the object. Then the temperature plunged, not slowly, but instantly. Team members saw their breath fog in front of them, despite the warm coastal weather. Animals on the far side of the island suddenly bolted into the woods. Even the tides near the swamp behaved strangely, drawing back as if repelled by something underground. Then came the strangest phenomenon of all. A shimmering distortion formed above the open chamber. It looked like heat haze rising from pavement, but reversed. Cold was bending the light instead of heat. Rick Lagina stared at the distortion, frozen, insisting he felt something watching from within it. Others backed away as their flashlights dimmed, not because of low batteries, but as though the darkness itself was swallowing the light. Government personnel reacted instantly. Sirens erupted. Agents shouted for containment teams to suit up. The perimeter was expanded, tripled in size, and locked down. Everyone who had been near the chamber was checked for unknown exposure. Some were rushed into quarantine tents. Others were taken away under guard and never seen on the island again. What terrified the team most wasn't the freezing air, the distortion, or the equipment failures. It was the artifact itself. Hours earlier, it had been silent, inert. Now it emitted a faint, rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat. Each pulse sent a tremor through the chamber walls, rippling into the ground far deeper than the excavation. Experts brought in under strict secrecy offered one chilling conclusion. The artifact wasn't just ancient, it was active. And if it was active, then the builders of Oak Island had not buried it as treasure. They buried it as containment. The phenomenon ended as abruptly as it began, but the damage was done. The island was locked down. The government classified the entire site, and Oak Island's mystery crossed the threshold from historical curiosity into something that felt dangerously alive. But the world wouldn't understand the scope of what happened until one final revelation surfaced. Something massive, the key to why the island was quarantined and what the authorities fear most. In the hours after the event, the military presence on Oak Island surged into something far larger and more organized than anything seen before. Satellite uplinks were activated, mobile command centers rolled onto the island, and a heavily classified perimeter was established, so restricted that even the Canadian government was reportedly not given full details. That's when it became clear to everyone. Whatever Oak Island had awakened was no longer a local mystery. It had become an international emergency. Inside the main command tent, experts from multiple scientific fields pored over the data collected during the artifact's pulse. Seismologists, atmospheric scientists, historians, and specialists from agencies that rarely collaborate. Their conclusions were terrifying. The pulse wasn't random. It was patterned, deliberate, and worst of all, it had been detected in multiple locations across the world. Deep ocean sensors in the Pacific, glacial resonance monitors in Antarctica, electromagnetic arrays near ancient sites in Europe and North Africa. All of them recorded the exact same tremor, the same rhythm, the same heartbeat. It was as if the artifact on Oak Island had awakened others like it. This wasn't treasure. This wasn't legend. This was something that had been hidden deliberately, hidden for a reason. Authorities feared the public could never comprehend the scale of what they were dealing with. A global network of devices left behind by a civilization with knowledge far beyond anything in recorded history, now reactivating for the first time in thousands of years. Some experts argued these objects were warnings. Others believed they were beacons. And a few, the most distressed voices, claimed they were countdowns. The world came dangerously close to learning the truth when a classified report leaked into foreign intelligence channels. According to that document, the Oak Island artifact emitted a burst of data into the atmosphere, encrypted, indecipherable, and directed off-planet. When officials attempted to question the report's author, his workstation had been completely wiped. He vanished the next day. The question haunting world leaders is the same one tormenting the silenced Oak Island team. Did we uncover something designed to protect humanity, or something meant to summon its greatest threat? To prevent global panic, a coordinated information blackout was launched. News outlets were instructed to drown the story in unrelated headlines. The island remains sealed off by both US and Canadian forces, and every scientist involved with the artifact has been reassigned to secret facilities. But the rumors haven't stopped. Whispers persist about a hidden message embedded in the artifact's pulse sequence. One stark warning: do not unseal the others. If that message is genuine, then Oak Island was never about gold, treasure, or lost manuscripts. It was the first trigger in a chain of events capable of reshaping the future of the entire planet. And somewhere out there, other ancient devices are waiting.